Chapter 4. Tenant Liberties was in an old dilapidated building that had peeling walls and a frayed, stained beige carpet. The doors of its office were wide open. I walked inside. A couple dozen or so folks were milling about. Some were making signs with cardboard and paintbrushes dipped in blue and red paint. The signs read, "Stop unfair evictions now." Housing should be a right for everyone, not just for the privileged. You know what's immoral? Evicting an innocent tenant. A tall man wearing jeans and a black t-shirt greeted me. He looked like he was in his early 40s. "Can I help you?" he asked. I glanced at the man's muscular arms. They were covered with a slew of tattoos. I then looked back at his face. He had tousled dark brown hair, a matching goatee, and full lips. My heart skipped a beat. There was something about a man and a goatee. It gave him character. On top of this, goatees were downright sexy. "I'm here to see Manuel Bridden," I replied. "What's your name?" the man asked. "Eric Mudros." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, I don't," I answered. "What do you want to talk to Manuel about?" "It's confidential," I replied. "Why?" "I'm looking into something and I need his help." The man peered at me suspiciously. "Are you a cop?" I winced. "No, I'm a private investigator." "What are you investigating?" he asked. "Look, I really don't want to waste your time," I said while glancing at the sign makers. "I just need to talk to Manuel." "Can you get him for me?" The man shook his head. "Manuel isn't here." "When do you expect him in?" I asked. The man stroked his goatee. "I really don't know. Manuel may come in later." A chill ran down my spine. Why was I so attracted to this man? I needed to control myself and focus on the investigation. "Do you know where Manuel is now?" "I have no idea." "Can you give me his cell phone number?" "Sorry, I'm not authorized to do that." "What's your name?" "Paul," he answered. "What's your last name?" I asked. Paul glared at me. "Erica, I don't think that's any of your business since you won't tell me why you need to talk to Manuel." I frowned. How could this good-looking man be such a jerk? "Can you tell Manuel I dropped by?" I asked as I pulled out my business card from my purse. "Manuel can call, text, or email me anytime." Paul took my card and stuffed it in his left jeans pocket. "I'll tell Manuel when he comes in." Thanks, I said. No problem, he replied. I need to get back to work now. I watched Paul walk away until he reached a wastebasket that was next to one of the sign makers. He pulled out my card, crumbled it, and threw it into the wastebasket. I wanted to scream. It was obvious that he was hiding something because he didn't want Manuel to talk to me. Did he know that Manuel might be a suspect in Calvin's murder? Or was he just a complete ass? I left Tenant Liberty's, walked to the street, and pulled my phone from my purse. I tapped the internet icon and did a search for Manuel's home address. He lived about a mile away from Tenant Liberty's. I stuffed my phone back into my purse and proceeded to walk to Manuel's apartment building. Manuel lived at a Victorian-style 10-unit apartment building. To my surprise, several police cars were parked in front. I walked inside. The hallway was painted bright yellow with white accents. The hardwood floors looked brand new. A spinning staircase led to the second floor. I trudged up the stairs. After I reached the top of stairwell, I turned to walk down a narrow hallway until I was in front of Manuel's apartment. A yellow tape saying, "Do not cross" blocked the entrance. A middle-aged cop was guarding the door. I glanced at his name tag and flashed him a smile. "Officer Garcia, can you tell me what happened?" "Ma'am, I'm not at liberty to discuss anything," replied Garcia. "Does this have to do with the eviction of Manuel Breton?" Garcia raised his eyebrows. "Eviction? Aren't you here because Manuel is being evicted?" "Ma'am, I don't know anything about an eviction." "Then why is his apartment being blocked off?" "Who are you?" Garcia asked. "I'm Eric Muderos and I'm a private investigator." "If you're not from another police agency, I can't help you," Garcia replied with a salty tone to his voice. "Who's your superior?" I asked. "Jane Penlope," he replied. "So, you're in the homicide department, right?" I asked. Garcia nodded. I looked at him directly in the eyes. "You're here because Manuel Breton has been murdered, right?" "Ma'am, I can't discuss this with you." "Why not?" I asked. "In a few minutes, the media will be here. They'll put it together that Manuel was murdered." Garcia looked down at the floor and then back up. "Look, lady, I don't care about the media. We have protocols and I can't tell you anything. But it's true, Manuel was killed, right?" "Lady, I've got nothing to say to you." "Are you denying that the investigation involves Manuel?" Officer Garcia glared at me. "Lady, it's not my place to talk about it. So, stop harassing me. I frowned. Fine, I'll get my information from someone else. I turned and pulled out my cell phone from my purse. I could call Jane, but she wouldn't tell me anything either. However, it was obvious from the cops' reactions that Manuel had been murdered. The real question was, who was the perp? Was it Calvin's mistress? Or did his wife do it? Or was it that sexy asshole that I had met at Tenant Liberty's? Or was it someone else? But why would the perp kill both Calvin and Manuel? They were on opposite ends. Calvin evicted folks whereas Manuel fought for tenants' rights. It didn't make sense. Or maybe the murders weren't connected at all. It was just happenstance that Calvin and Manuel were both killed. However, my gut told me that there was a connection and that I needed to find it. Chapter 5. I call Liz from my cell phone. After a few rings, she picked up. Liz, this is Erica, I said. I think that Manuel Britton may have been murdered. The phone was silent for a few seconds. I'm sorry about his death, but I don't know who he is, Liz said with a puzzled voice. Manuel is a tenants' rights advocate. Your husband had represented his landlord and the landlord won his case against Manuel. Manuel was scheduled to be evicted later this week. I don't know anything about that, Liz said. My husband and I don't discuss his cases. Do you have any idea why someone would kill both your husband and Manuel? No, I don't, Liz answered. It doesn't make sense. Your husband represented landlords, while Manuel fought for tenants. I really don't understand the connection. Neither do I, Liz replied. But maybe it's coincidental. I stroked my chin. It could be. But you know there's one other thing that's bothering me. What? Liz asked. If your husband is dead, how come folks are still being evicted? Once the court issues an eviction order, no one can stop it. It's an automated process, Liz answered. That makes sense, I reflected. So, have you talked to the slut yet? Liz asked. No, I haven't. She's next on the list. Great. Let me know what she says. I have a meeting in a couple of minutes, so I need to go. After we said our goodbyes, I clicked the end button. I wiped my brow. For Liz not know anything about Manuel was very odd. There were press releases plastered all over the internet about the big protest against Manuel's eviction. On top of this, The eviction was a top news story in Chatlin. You'd think with Liz being in the PR field, she would have read the story. Then again, maybe Liz didn't follow tenants' issues because her husband did evictions. At any rate, I still needed to talk to Calvin's girlfriend Veronica. Maybe she would yield some real answers. A compact gray American car with dents on its roof was parked in the driveway of Veronica's faded yellow two-story house. I knocked on the door. I waited for a minute and no one answered. I knocked a few more times. "Who is it?" a female with a raspy voice yelled. "I'm here to see Veronica Quainwood," I replied. "Are you her?" A thick woman with a severely wrinkled face and shoulder-length frizzy salt and pepper hair slowly opened the door. Her belly protruded from jeans that were at least 2 sizes too small. She looked at me up and down. "Who are you?" she asked. "My name is Erica Muderos and I'm a private investigator." "Are you Veronica?" "Hell no," the woman hissed. "She's my landlord." "Landlord?" I asked. "So, do you know where Veronica lives?" The woman rolled her eyes. "Veronica lives here. I'm just renting a room from her." "What's your name?" "That's none of your business," the roomer hissed. "Is Veronica home now?" "No, she isn't," she replied. "What do you need to see her about?" "It's personal," I replied. "Personal my ass," she sneered. "You're here because the murder of that landlord lawyer." "How do you know that?" "Because the cops were here earlier looking for her." "Do you know where Veronica is now?" The woman smirked. "Like I told the cops, I am not her keeper." "I have no idea." "Where does Veronica work?" "She ain't got a job. Got laid off last year." "What does she normally do during the week?" "Don't know." I pulled a $20 bill from my purse and held in front of her. "Would this help your memory?" $20 aren't nothing. "Make it 50 and maybe I can help you." I glared at her. "I don't have that kind of cash." I pulled out a $10 bill and put it on top of the $20. "How about $30? She grabbed the money from my hand and smiled with a mouthful of tobacco-stained teeth. "So, what do you want to know?" "What's your name?" "Told you before, it isn't none of your business." "Why not?" "Are you wanted for a warrant?" "No, nothing like that. Just don't want my crazy ex-boyfriend to find out." "I don't know who your ex is, so your information is safe with me." "Lady, sorry that's not in our deal." Just ask me about Veronica only. So, did Veronica have a relationship with the lawyer Calvin Norwich? Don't know. What you mean you don't know? Lady, I don't know. Veronica was a private person and she never talked about her personal life. Did Calvin ever visit her at the house? No, Veronica never has any visitors. How long you've living here? For a while, the roomer answered. How long is a while? I asked. Look lady, that isn't none of your business. Told ya I don't know nothing about Veronica and that lawyer. I shook my head in disgust. All right. Where's Veronica? She went on a trip, the roomer answered. A trip where? I asked. To Seattle, the roomer responded. She'll be there for the next couple of weeks. Went there to celebrate her 40th birthday. Wanted to do something special. When did her plane leave? I asked. The roomer gave me a strange look and then sighed. Veronica is afraid of flying. She decided to drive up. Left on Thursday night. What kind of car does Veronica have? I asked. The roomer pointed to the car in the driveway. I groaned. How is Veronica driving to Seattle then? She rented a car, the roomer answered. Do you know from where? I asked. Veronica didn't tell me, the roomer responded. Where is she staying? I asked. I have no idea, the roomer responded. Got her cell phone number? I asked. Nope, the roomer replied. I eyed her suspiciously. Come on, you can give me her number. That will cost you another $5. I put my left hand in my purse. I found 3 wrinkled dollar bills and 43 cents in change. How about if I give you this? The roomer huffed. Is that all you've got? Yeah, it's yours if you give me Veronica's phone number. After she grabbed the money, she spouted off Veronica's phone number. Thanks, I said while I scribbled the number down. Is there anything else you can tell me? Lady, I've got nothing else, she said while looking at her plastic watch. My soap is coming on so I gotta bounce. Thanks for your help, I said. No problem, the roomer said as she shut the door. I walked to my car and punched in Veronica's cell phone number. It rang a few times and then went straight to voicemail. I shook my head. Was Veronica on the run from the murder of Calvin? Or was it happenstance that he had been killed on the night she left for Seattle? And what about Manuel's murder? If she had been in Seattle since Thursday, then there was no way she could have killed him. Then again, the rumor could be lying. At any rate, I needed to find Veronica. The problem was Seattle was more than 800 miles away and I had no idea where she was staying. Chapter 6. I punched in Liz's phone number. After a couple rings, Liz picked up. I told her that Veronica had left on Thursday night for Seattle. "Do you think the slut is on the run?" Liz asked. "She might be," I answered. "If you want, I could fly out to Seattle and look for her." "Do you know where she's staying?" "I have no idea." "Then going to Seattle might be waste of time." "Do you want me to go or not?" I asked. "Sure, go find the slut." "Great. I'll need another check for expenses." "For how much?" Liz asked. "Another grand," I replied. Liz heaved a heavy sigh. "Forget it then. Just stay here. Maybe she'll come back." "I thought you said that money wasn't an issue," I said. "Things have changed," Liz mumbled. "What do you mean?" I asked. "They froze my bank accounts a few minutes ago," Liz replied. "Who's they?" I asked. "The goddamn IRS," Liz hissed. "They're claiming Calvin owed a shitload of back taxes." "Why would the IRS freeze your accounts?" "I thought you didn't have anything to do with his business." That's what I told those assholes, but they didn't give a shit. They told me because Calvin and I filed joint tax returns that makes us both liable. "That's horrible," I said. "Tell me about," Liz said with a sarcastic voice. "Do you have any cash?" I asked. "About $40 and some change," Liz responded. I groaned. "Is the check you gave me last night any good? Have you deposited it?" Liz asked. "Not yet," I replied. "Good. Just hold on to it. In a couple days, you can cash it." My stomach churned. I doubted that a government freeze would be fixed anytime soon. "How about if I return your check and bill your credit card, instead?" "That won't work because I don't have any credit cards," Liz responded. "Are you kidding me?" "No, I'm not," Liz answered. "How come you don't have a credit card?" I asked. There were a few seconds of silence on the phone before Liz spoke. "When we had credit, Calvin could blow 10 grand or more during one of his gambling sprees. I canceled all of our cards, so I could keep Calvin's gambling in check." I couldn't believe how foolish Liz was. If Daryl had blown even $100 on one of my credit cards, I would have thrown his ass to the curb. "Well, that's too bad," I said. "Yeah, it is. But I need to tell you something," I said. "What?" Liz asked. "Because the check isn't good, I need to stop working on your case." "Erica, I need your help," Liz pleaded. "Just give me some time." "I'm sorry, Liz. I can't work for free. How about if I give you something for collateral?" Liz asked. "Like what?" "My wedding ring. It's worth at least $5,000. I rubbed my brow. $5,000 was more than the check she had written. "That will work," I replied. "Can I come by now and pick up the ring?" "Sure," Liz said. "Great, I'll see you in a bit," I said as I hit the end button on my phone. 20 minutes later, I arrived at Liz's house. To my surprise, there were several police cars parked on the street. I got out of my car and noticed that Liz's front door was wide open. 2 cops came out with Liz in handcuffs. Liz looked like shit. Her hair was in disarray and her makeup was smeared. Liz gave me a twisted smile. "Meet me in jail," she said. I glanced at Liz's left hand. She was wearing her wedding ring. After she was booked in jail, the ring would be confiscated. There would be no way I could get it. I shook my head and walked back to my car. Liz yelled a bunch of expletives. I pretended not to hear them. With no money or collateral, I was off the case. Chapter 7. When I walked into the living room, Daryl was sitting at the table. He was stuffing his face with spaghetti and meatballs. "Would you like some?" he offered. I sat down at the table. "No, I'm good," I answered. Daryl moved his plate of food to the side. "I got a call from the census," he said. "Wow, what did they want?" I asked. "Remember last year, you made me take the test for the census?" "Yeah, and you got a 100%. Daryl looked down at the floor and then back up at me. "I got offered a job." I smiled. "That's fantastic news. When do you start?" "I'm not sure if I want it. It's to be an enumerator. I'd be helping people complete the census. But the problem is that it only pays $22 an hour. That's less than half of what I used to make." I felt my blood pressure rising. "Daryl, it's a job and you need to work. But it has nothing to do with engineering." Daryl protested. "You know what? I don't care. you'd be earning money. I get money from unemployment. I flinched. And the census pays more than unemployment. What's the problem? I'm getting unemployment to look for a job in engineering, Daryl argued. And all you do is sit on your ass all day and play video games. That's not true. I look for work. I've had job interviews, but I just hadn't gotten a job offer. You know that because I'm older, it's a lot harder. Then consider it a blessing that the census doesn't give a shit about your age, I yelled. Erica, but. No more freaking buts. No more excuses. You're taking the job. Period. And if you don't, I'm kicking your ass out of my house. I'm sick of you leeching off me. That's not true. I buy the food and cook for us every day. I clean, and I fix things around here. I glared at Daryl. And who pays the mortgage? I do. Who pays the water, trash, and electricity? It's all me. You haven't given me one freaking cent for rent. When I moved in, I offered to help. You told me that you didn't want anything. I groaned. That was 3 years ago. That was a different time. I make a lot less now and I need help. I thought you just picked up a good case, Daryl said. The case is over, I said. What do you mean? Daryl asked. The lady got arrested and her bank accounts are frozen, I answered. So, she has no money to pay me. Sorry about that, Daryl said. Daryl, I need you to call the census now and accept the job, I ordered. Daryl looked at his watch. It's 12:15. I'm sure they're closed for lunch. I shook my head. Damn it, Daryl. Call them now or I'm changing the locks. Fine, Daryl huffed. He picked up the phone and punched in some numbers. He was silent until someone answered. He spoke with the person for about a minute. He then hung up the phone. Daryl turned to me and said, "The HR lady is out for lunch. She'll be back in later." I gritted teeth. Then call her in an hour. After you speak with her, I want a progress report. Daryl stared at me and didn't say anything. I shook my head and went into the bedroom. I pulled out my laptop from my bag and turned it on. I went online and checked out my bank balance. It was $1,482.00. I needed $181 more to cover my mortgage. I only had a few days to raise the money. I went back into the living room and turned to Daryl. Do you have $200? I need it for the mortgage. Sorry babe, I don't have that kind of money. Didn't you just get a check from unemployment? Yeah, but I spent it on my student loans. How could you be 46 years old and have student loans? I screeched. Because you know I went back to school a few years ago and got my master's. That damn master's is useless. Erica, you need to stop being so mean. I glared at Daryl. So how much money do you have? About $30, Daryl answered. Then give me that, I demanded. Sorry, I can't do that. I need it, Daryl answered. Need it for what? I asked. For transportation, Daryl responded. My eyes bulged. What the hell you are talking about? You don't have a car. If I take the census job, I'm going to need money for the bus. Keep your damn money then, I shouted. Why don't you ask your parents for money? Daryl asked. I grumbled. You know that they don't have anything but their social security checks and dad's small pension. Plus, my brother Patrick and his wife moved in with my folks after they both lost their jobs. And now, they're expecting a baby. So, nobody in my family has money. You'd think they would have heard of birth control, Daryl mumbled. I glared at Daryl. You know what? You need to mind your own business. Daryl huffed, you're the one who brought up. I felt the heat rising in my face. My family is a closed subject. And if you want to talk about families, let's talk about yours. When your father died, he left you with not 1 cent. In fact, you had to borrow money to pay for the funeral. Being financially irresponsible must be a family trait. Daryl's face turned a bright red. Don't you ever talk bad about my father, he shouted. You know that the insurance company refused to cover my mother's medical bills when she died 3 years ago from melanoma. Said that she had a pre-existing condition that she didn't disclose in her insurance application. So, Dad lost the house and everything else. He should have fought the decision, I argued. Daryl looked at me with disbelief. You know damn well that my father filed several appeals and lost. He should have taken it to court, I responded. Daryl's nostrils flared. You know that he didn't have the 10 grand the lawyer wanted to take the case to court. So, leave my father alone. Fine, your father is off limits, I said as I walked toward the front door. Where are you going? Daryl asked. I need to do some errands, I answered. What kind of errands? Daryl asked. I sighed. Just errands. Can I go now? Leave then and do your stupid errands, Daryl said angrily. I wanted to shout back, but instead I said nothing. I was tired of Daryl's antics. I needed to get out of the house before I exploded. I left the condo and walked to my neighborhood ATM that was in a liquor store. Over the past few months, the ATM and I had become good friends. I stopped counting how many times I had used it for cash advances. Could have been 10 or 20 times. Maybe even more. Each time I took out the money, it helped me keep afloat. Paid for the mortgage. Paid for the electric bill and paid for a whole lot of other things as well. I inserted my credit card and hit the button for a cash advance of $200. The machine churned. Nothing came out. I looked at the screen. It read, insufficient funds. What the hell? That credit card still had a line of credit of about $4,000 left. It couldn't have been used up. I pulled out my cell phone from my purse and called the card credit company. After a couple minutes, a customer rep came on the line. There's something wrong with my credit card, I said. I tried getting a cash advance and the ATM said, insufficient funds. That can't be right because I still have credit. Let me check, the customer rep replied. Ma'am, your credit limit was reduced. You're $12 over the limit. What do you mean it's been reduced? I asked. I'm current on my payments. Ma'am, that doesn't matter. It's been reduced based on economic conditions, the customer rep responded. Economic conditions, that's ridiculous. I've never been late on this credit card, I said. Ma'am, there's nothing I can do for you. Because your card is over the limit, you'll be charged a penalty. How can I be charged a penalty? I asked. No one told me it was reduced. Ma'am, we mailed you a letter yesterday, the rep replied. I frowned. How much is the penalty? $30 plus we will be raising your interest to 29% per our agreement. Are you kidding me? I've been a loyal customer for 18 years and you're raising my interest. How ridiculous. Ma'am, your only other option is to close the card. That'll keep your interest rate at 6%. I gritted my teeth. Close the card then. Ma'am, I will do that now. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, I replied. Have a good day. Damn it, with no cash advance, I couldn't pay my mortgage. I could lose my place. I needed money and I wasn't sure how I would get it.